So La Liga's back, right? We have Barcelona coming back, and of course, after the FIFA break, the international break, Barcelona now has to face Atletico de Madrid, right? And this is going to be one of the first games of the three that they have to face each other. Obviously, we're playing La Liga, and then they got paired up in the Champions League against one another. So for this game, let's focus on La Liga, right? Given the fact that Barcelona, the last time they played at the Metro Politano, they got pretty much smacked in the Copa del Rey 4-0, right? So they come back and they won the second leg, but I mean the 4-0 was 4-0. Barcelona played horrendous in that game away. What are your thoughts? What are you expecting this game around? This time around, what are you expecting? Give me your score predictions, give me your possible lineups. And what do you hope to see, given, especially given the fact that like I said, Barcelona has to face them on Tuesday again?
Yeah, dude. So this is the second game at the Wanda, right? The first game they lost 4-0. It was a battering. But I'm hoping this game is gonna be different. And the reason why is because I'm hoping that they learn from the mistakes, right? From the first game where they lost 4-0. And then I don't know if you heard, but Fleek was also talking about the pitch. He also made a comment about the pitch because there was a lot of comments made of how the ball was bouncing around and whatnot. And then he said, if I talked to the players about it, if they have to change their stats, they're gonna have to change their stats, but they have to adapt.
Yeah.
So he's basically saying there's no excuse, the pitch is whatever it is, so they have to get used to it. But I am hoping that maybe they're gonna go in a little bit more concentrated and a little bit more focused on this game because this game, I do want to say that I believe it's more important for Barca than it is for Atletico Madrid, and the reason why is because Atletico, they're not in the title race, right? I think like 10 points behind Barca or 12, something like that. So their goal is to make the top three or the top four to be in the Champions League. That's their goal.
Right.
So I don't think that they're in a title race. So I believe that Simeone can even go with some subs and he can even rest a couple of players preparing for Tuesday's match, which I think is going to be more important for him than this match. So with that being said, I do think that I do think Barca can win. It's one out of the three games that they're going to face each other, but I don't think it's going to be easy at all. I think it's going to be tight, and it's only 4 points ahead of Real Madrid. So that's the reason why I'm saying that this game is more important for Barca than it is for Atletico Madrid because if Barca lose or if they tie, they then they lose ground to Real Madrid for the title race, right? So. I'm hoping they win. I don't think it's going to be easy at all. But I do think they have the ability to win and to beat Atletico Madrid because they've done it before. They did it last season. So they have the ability and they can do it.
You know what? I'm with you. They do obviously have the ability. I agree with you 100%. The problem is, are we going to get a Barcelona that is going to be concentrated from the first minute all the way to the 90 minute? Or are we going to get a distracted Barcelona? Barcelona typically, bro, both you and I have been watching Barcelona for a very long time, right? And every time there's a FIFA international break, bro, when they come back, they're not at their best. The players are not at their best. I'm not
Yeah,
saying that it's only Barcelona in general because I'm pretty sure all the other teams suffer the same. But man, it just sucks, given the fact that Barcelona has to face Atletico de Madrid, when returning from the international break. And
yeah,
there's so much at stake for Barcelona. Like you mentioned earlier, right? Barcelona is only 4 points ahead of Real Madrid. They're only 4 points ahead of Real Madrid. And obviously, like you mentioned as well, this game is more important for Barcelona than it is for Atletico Madrid. Why? Because in my opinion, I also think that Simeone is gonna go ahead and pretty much focus on winning at least the Copa del Rey. I think that's his priority right now. I think in the Champions League, I think he's gonna obviously compete with Barcelona, but I think that that's gonna be something that is gonna be determined when the games arrive. Tuesday being, the first leg, of course, of the Champions League. But in La Liga, I feel like he realizes, like, you know what? Do we really have to go all out? Right? I mean, if we do win the game or if we tie up the game, what is it gonna make a huge difference? Now, if the table was at, like, let's say each point away from, like, each team was 1 point away from each other in the table, now we're talking, right? Now I think the Atletico Madrid will have as much pressure as Barcelona does. And let's also not forget,
Yeah,
bro, that Real Madrid and Liga before the international break, they were kind of picking up some momentum, right? Given the fact that they also beat City, you know. So I think that Barcelona needs to win, and I hope they do as well. Because if they don't, if they drop points, let's not forget that they're also going to go ahead and be behind. Not behind, but they're going to close the gap a little bit, or
yeah,
and we have to face Real Madrid in a Clásico in May.
yeah,
So that's for me. That comes into play.
yeah. And I think also, dude, I do think that the first leg of the Champions League, which is Tuesday, is more important for Atletico Madrid and Simeone than the second leg. And the reason why I say this is because I don't know if you remember this, but Atletico de Madrid had the second leg of the Champions League that same week that they had the final of the Copa del Rey that weekend.
Right.
So I think that they're gonna try their best, their hardest to get a good result from the first leg, which is the one on Tuesday.
Hmm.
So that way they don't have to, you know, go, a battle, a uphill battle for the second leg, right? And then they can go ahead and be well prepared for the Copa del Rey final, which is the cup that I think they really want to win, you know, and because they have a really high chance of winning. So I think tomorrow's game, like I said, that's the reason why I think tomorrow's game is more important for Barca than it is for Atletico Madrid. Because Atletico Madrid, if they lose or tie to Barca, it's not really a big deal for them because their goal is to just get in the Champions League for next season, right? To make it in the top three or top four. So I think Barca do really have to go ahead and give a good performance. They have to really focus. They have to concentrate. Um, and yeah, dude, let's see what happens because Barca do have some injuries, right? One of them being Rafinha, who's not gonna be there, unfortunately. Frankie De Jong is still gonna be out, but they're also gonna get some players back. They're gonna get I think Eddie Garcia is gonna come back, and I think
Yeah.
Balde and Kunde are gonna be back as well. So yeah, with that being said, what about lineups? Who do you think Flick should go with? And do you think he's potentially gonna rest some players preparing for Tuesday's match in the Champions League? I guess Atletico Madrid as well.
I'll be honest with you, bro. Obviously, like you said, right, and you mentioned the Rafinha being out, I think was is what worries me the most, given the fact that Rafinha is always pressuring and running, right? And I feel that when Rafinha's not there, Flick's game plan or tactics, they kind of change. No
They
player in
do.
Barcelona pressures the way Rafinha pressures. The top line, bro, is always so important for a player. That's where the pressure line starts, in my opinion, right? And Rafinha always leads by example. Now, with the return of Koundé, possibly in Balde as well, and honestly, bro, I wouldn't start them. I wouldn't start him. I will actually go with the same lineup that he's been using before the international break, right? Even if that means, for example, playing with Gerard Martin, who I think has been doing very good at the center back alongside Kubasi, Joan Cancelo in the left flank, and maybe even Araujo in the right flank. I think I would do that, bro, because I feel that Kunde and Balde haven't played, right? They could be well rested, but are they going to be able to keep up with the rhythm, the momentum of the game? Who knows? Maybe not. But if they do, I mean, it wouldn't be a bad idea to go ahead and substitute them, right?
Yeah,
And then obviously, I think Fermin is playing really well. Obviously, there's not going to be a. I don't think there's any questions that Pedri is going to need to start, and I'm pretty sure he's going to start alongside Marc Bernal, right?
yeah,
So then we have Fermin, and then obviously, I personally I'm going with Lewandowski. I'm starting with Lewandowski. We are at this point of the season, bro, where you cannot fail to miss a scoring opportunity, even if it's one. The number nine or whoever's up front, bro, they have to take advantage of it, right? So I think it's important for Lewandowski to start. May not be running, may not be pressuring, but his presence in the box is going to be something the defense will have to worry about. And then obviously you have Lamine Yamal, and the question is, Rafinha being out, does he start with Rashford, for example? Does he go ahead and play with Dani Olmo? Who knows, right? I think I'm going with Dani Olmo, bro. I think I'm going with Dani Olmo, and I think it's time for Dani Olmo to step it up. Dani Olmo has been in this train where he hasn't been performing as well. So I think he needs to go ahead and step it up, especially around these games. So I think I'm going with Olmo.
yeah. I agree with you. The only thing The only thing I think Flick is probably gonna do is I think he's gonna start Ferran Torres. And hear me out. The reason why I think that is because I think he's gonna start Lewandowski for Tuesday's match, and I don't know if Lewandowski can handle back-to-back games, with high intensity. So I think he's gonna go with Ferran Torres, and if Lewa needs to come in, he'll sub in Lewa maybe at the 60th minute or so. That's what I think
Okay.
he's gonna do, just to give Lewa some rest because I think he's gonna start him on Tuesday. But besides that, I agree with you. And then, well, actually, I do think he's actually gonna go with Rashford. That's what I think.
You think he's going
I
Rashford?
think I think so because I think in the press conference he said that Rashford's gonna get more opportunities now that Rafinha's out. So I think he's gonna try him out. I think he's gonna if he doesn't do good tomorrow, then he's probably not gonna start him on Tuesday, and he's probably gonna go with somebody else on Tuesday. But I think he starts him tomorrow along with Ferran Torres, Lamine Yamal, Fermin, Pedri, Bernal, and then center backs Gerard Martin, Cubarsí, and then I think he's gonna go with Araujo and Cancelo. That's
Yeah.
what I think he's gonna go with.
Yeah, I think that would be make I think that would make the most sense, to be honest, bro, because like I said, I think that bringing back Kunde and Balde, and
Mhm.
in an important game and a high momentum game like that could be costly, especially given the fact that Barcelona defense, bro, have been suffering this whole season, bro. They've been suffering. So I
Yeah,
think that Barcelona, I hope that they win. I'll be honest with you, bro. I can see Barcelona winning by a very small margin, if not even a tie, right?
yeah, yeah. Me too. I think. And what do you think the score could be if Barcelona win?
I think Barcelona wins by one, max two goals, bro. And if not, like I said, a tie. And if Atletico Madrid win, not only would I be surprised, and it's not because I don't think Atletico Madrid is a good team. I think I'll be very surprised because I feel like Barcelona, before leaving the international break, they were again right. We can go back to the whole season. Sometimes they have these big waves, right, where it's like, oh, they're doing good, and one or two games they perform well. Then the next game is like, shoo. Next game they perform well. So before the international break, bro, I don't think Barcelona were playing that bad, right? With that being said,
Yeah,
I think that this is the time that I don't think Barcelona is able to go ahead and afford any errors, bro. We need to be honest. I think this is the crucial part of the season.
it is. This is the this month and next month, bro. That's pretty much
Yeah,
it. Basically, no, it's actually basically a month and a half because by mid-June, I mean by mid-May, you already know who's gonna win and who's gonna lose.
especially the
So
Clásico, right? With the
yeah, you
Clásico,
already know. Yeah, by mid-May, you already know. So it's only a month and a half. This is the crucial 1 month and a half. So yeah, Barca need to win. And I'm with you. I think if Barca do win, bro, it's gonna be by one goal
yeah,
max, one goal difference. So I could see maybe like a 3-2 win by Barca if they win. And like you say, if they tie, then will I be really too surprised? Not really, because knowing how they struggled, in that stadium, right, with the 4-0, I mean, I
yeah.
wouldn't be surprised if they tie. Lose, I would be a little disappointed to be honest because it's not you're not really going into the Champions League with a lot of hope, that's for sure.
No,
And then you decrease the gap to Real Madrid by potentially 1 point only if Real Madrid win their game, right? So yeah, I mean we'll see what happens though.
yeah. Let's see what happens, bro. I guess we'll see what happens. Especially, I'm kind of interested in seeing what definitely happens, given the fact that, like I said, we have Champions League on Tuesday, right? We can make a video with that on
Yeah,
Tuesday, and then the last thing I want to mention, bro, is let's not forget, right? These games are crucial for Barcelona, the ones for Atletico Madrid, right? Because potentially, bro, Barcelona can pretty much, you can say certainty, if they lose the game with Atletico Madrid, let's say they get knocked out by the Champions League, that's it. No more Champions League, no more Copa del Rey for Barcelona. And then if they lose a Liga game, now you only have 1 point ahead of now you're only 1 point ahead of Real Madrid. So you can potentially go from, hey, we're still in two competitions, to now we're only at one, and then that being a Liga with a very small margin. That's how important these games are, bro. So let's see what
yeah,
happens tomorrow.
I agree.